let's look at some new cards. Let's look at what's to come after the Infinite Forbidden. Maybe it's looking better at that point. And let's look at some of these new cards that they announced recently. We got Rage of the Abyss. This is I sorted these from old news to new cards. There's some of these that literally were announced, I think, this morning. So this one is something that some of you may have already seen because this was announced 2 days ago. This is another wave of Whitewood's support. I say wave, but it's only one card. I wonder if there's going to be more in Rise of the Abyss or Rage of the Abyss, sorry. Obviously, I'm looking forward to good Whitewood support. It's an archetype that, even though I have not played it yet, I anticipate it to be very fun and right up my alley. So I'm hoping that this card is good. It's a quick play spell. You can only use the first and second effect each once per turn. Tribute a synchro monster, then target a face-up card on the field, negate its effects until the end phase. Then, if you tributed a Whitewood synchro monster at activation, you can special summon an illusion monster from your graveyard. And then it has the second effect that all of the Whitewood spell traps have, which is if this card is sent to the graveyard to activate a monster effect, you can set this card. I think that seems solid because you will, in Whitewoods, often have Whitewood synchro monsters on the board on your opponent's turn. I personally believe that as long as Whitewood's spell traps have this secondary effect, they can never be completely terrible for Whitewoods. Obviously, the Searcher one is really, really strong. But in general, I think the most important part about some of these spell cards is the fact that you can reset them over and over and over again. This seems like the kind of card where if I'm going first, I'm just going to discard this card or send it to the graveyard for one of my Whitewoods, right? It's basically free because it resets itself. And then it does at least something on my opponent's turn, right? Like, it's not the greatest, it's not the greatest card ever, but like the fact that you can target a face-up card on the field, that includes spell cards, right? The fact that you can negate like Talents or Thrust or Lightning Storm or Duster, all those kind of cards, even Dark Ruler no more, right? I think is pretty good, right? It's like a hot red on a spell card. I think that makes it better. It's not just imperm, right? It's not imperm because it's not just monsters. So I think that's what makes it a lot better than you think it is. And I could really see playing this in a Whitewoods deck, at least as a one of, because I'm pretty sure these spell traps are searchable with one of the monsters. So I don't think it's good enough to be a 3 of or something, but I think it's solid. I think it's a solid searchable one of for Whitewoods. I'm hoping for more Whitewood support than just this, but it's all right. We've got a V-Jump promo, which once again, V-Jump is always weird because you never know when we're gonna get this, but this is another Performapal card, Performapal Sky Magician Girl. Level 5 Wind Spellcaster, 2000 attack, 1500 defense. Has 3 effects, all of them once per turn. If you control a continuous spell, you can special summon this card from your hand. If this card is special summoned from the hand, you can send a level 4 or lower spellcaster, light spellcaster from deck to the graveyard. If this face-up card leaves the field, you can target a spell trap on the field, destroy it. I'm not quite sure if there is a home for this card, but this card this card seems good, especially if there are really good targets for the second effect. Off the top of my head, I can think of Trick Clown. I can think of Fairy Tale Snow in like the OCG or Master Duel. I can think of someone in chat just mentioned you can send Jaugen and then revive it. I don't think that's what you're gonna do with it. You can send Cartesia, Quem, all that stuff, but they don't immediately do anything when they're sent to the graveyard. Also, there isn't really a deck that plays a bunch of continuous spells, right? Like, I don't know, people said like, hey, I can special this in Tearlaments and send Snow to the graveyard if I have Scream. And it's like, well, but what if you don't have Scream? Then you have a level 5 wind monster in your hand that you can't really use. Unless you can resolve Kid Kalos to search the Scream. So, I don't know. the Snake Eyes thing count? Yeah, but like in order for you to put a Snake Eye card into your spell and trap zone, most of the time you already have to be able to play the game. I don't know if I love this card, honestly. It also does not count. Pendulum Scale does not count. Yeah, I don't know. If this face-up card leaves the field, target a spell trap on the field, destroy it. That can obviously be solid in a lot of matchups. You can also destroy your own if that ever comes up. I believe this is because a bunch of the magicians have effects when destroyed. This is a weird card for me to evaluate. I personally feel like it looks good, but it looks better than it is because it is very situational as a level 5 monster. Requiring continuous spells. I wouldn't be surprised if it ever saw play though, because the effects are certainly useful. But I think it's hard to evaluate. I think it's a little too situational to say exactly whether it's going to be good or not. Can Voiceless do anything with it? See, you would have to go out of your way, I feel like. You'd have to build your deck in such a different fashion to play this in like Voiceless voice. Like, what are you going to do with this in Voiceless voice? It's just awkward, I think. Because Low isn't even a spellcaster. Low's a fairy, right? So, well. And then we have the Archetype that has sparked a lot of, at least, where it's gotten a lot of attention this morning. I haven't read the cards yet, but I saw a lot of people tweet about this. I believe this is an additional archetype as part of the Diabellstar lore. So there are good things to be expected from this. It's a fusion-based archetype called Azamina? Azamina? I don't know. We've got Azamina Rhea Silvera. You can tell from the names it's part of the Diabellstar and also from the artworks. It's an illusion fusion monster. Which requires an illusion monster and a light spellcaster. You can only use the second and third effect of this card's name each once per turn. Any battle damage your Azamina monster other than itself inflicts to your opponent is doubled. When your opponent activates a card or effect, quick effect, you contribute this card, negate that effect. That's really strong. That is essentially an Omni Negate. That's really, really powerful. It's not very cool in terms of design, but it's powerful. It is worth noting that it does not destroy the card. If anything, if they keep want to make negates, I would prefer if they kept it like this in a way that doesn't destroy the card. Simply because like, make negates as weak as possible, basically, is my take. But, you know, I'd rather just have them print not an Omni Negate on it, but alright. If this card is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can add a Sinful Spoils trap from your deck to your hand. Alright. They got multiple fusion monsters. Basically, long story, let me just say one thing right off the bat. The power of these cards is going to depend on how you summon them. So I assume we're going to have some spell cards as well, so we're going to have to wait and see how you summon these guys. You got Azamina Mu Arcielago. Illusion plus Spellcaster is what they all require. You can only use the first and third effect of this card's name each once per turn. If this card is fusion summoned, you can add an Azamina or Sinful Spoils card from your deck to your hand. Monsters your opponent controls lose 500 attack defense for each monster you control of that archetype. If this card is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can add a Sinful Spoils spell from your deck to your hand. Okay, this one added trap, this one adds spells, but only if they're destroyed. And then we have Azamina Sol Erisicthon. This one takes Illusion plus Fiend. You can only use the first and second effect of this card's name each once per turn. If this card is fusion summoned, you can target a card on the field, send it to the graveyard. During each standby phase, you can target an Azamina or Sinful Spoils card in your graveyard, add it to your hand. See, this is the kind of design that I like a lot more than on the first one, right? Like, this one has a removal effect on summon, but also gives you insane recursion. If you can keep this guy on the board, you get to add a card back from the graveyard every standby phase, which is pretty cool. I like the design on that card. And then we've got Azamina Moa Regina, level 8, requiring an illusion and a level 6 or higher fiend monster. You can only use the first and second effect of this card's name each once per turn. You can target an illusion monster in your graveyard except itself, special summon it. Okay, once per turn reborn, not bad. When the Sinful Spoils or Azamina card or effect is activated, except its own effect, quick effect, you can target up to 2 cards on the field, destroy them. See, this is another... These, literally, out of these 4 fusions, I really like the design on 3 of these. They seem really interactive and fun to play with, and then they make this one. Which is just... Why did they have to give this cringe-ass effect anyways? But like, the overall, still looking like a cool archetype so far. Let's see how we summon these guys. We got Sacred Azamina, normal spell. You can only use the second effect once per turn. Reveal an Azamina fusion monster in your extra deck and send 1 Sinful Spoils card from your hand and or field to the graveyard for every 4 levels it has. If those cards are set, reveal them. Then special summon the revealed monster. This is treated as a fusion summon. Okay. If this card's in your graveyard, you can target an Azamina monster you control or in your grave, shuffle it into the deck, and if you do, add this card to your hand. So, I assume that this is like... For every 4 levels, this means that, because they're not exactly level 4, these ones are level 6. This means you have to send 1 Sinful Spoil. Because you have to send a second one if you reach level 8. Which means for all 3 of the first ones, the first 3 you need to send 1 Sinful Spoil card, and for this one you have to send 2 to summon it. Which is weird, because this is not the most powerful one. It is a good one, but this is, I would say this one is the most powerful, simply because it has the Omni Negate, but alright. The first part of the effect is not once per turn, so you can activate it, then later on add it back to your hand, and then activate it again. My only issue is that the cost for this seems quite... That seems like a big cost to me, because Sinful Spoiled cards are not that... Like, there's not that many. I mean, I think they're getting more, but yeah. We've got Azamina Ophiletis, quick play spell. You can only use the first and second effect once per turn and only once that turn. During the main phase, reveal an Azamina fusion monster in your extra deck and send... Okay, this is the same effect, but on a quick play spell. During your main phase, you can banish this card from your grave, then target an Azamina monster in your graveyard, special summon it. Alright, so this card is interesting because it lets you summon this guy, for example. No, this one. This one on your opponent's turn, right? Because this one has an on summon, send the card to the graveyard effect, which is obviously more useful on your opponent's turn. The fact that you can quick play summon it on the opponent's turn is nice. Yeah, this card is also okay. We got Azamina Hamartia, normal trap. You can only use the first... you can only use 1 of these effects per turn. Reveal an Azamina fusion monster and shuffle a Sinful Spoils card from your graveyard or banishment into the deck for every 4 levels it has. Okay, this lets you recycle Sinful Spoils card from graveyard or banished to summon as cost. That's obviously a powerful trap card. And it has a recursion effect in the graveyard as well. You can banish this card from the grave to target a Sinful Spoils trap in your grave. Set it. It cannot be activated this turn. This seems good to me, but it is a trap card, so we'll have to wait and see how strong it actually is. But being like, the thing is, summoning a fusion monster on your opponent's turn has been a very strong ability in Yu-Gi-Oh! In recent years. You think of branded or Chimera decks. Fusion summoning on the opponent's turn is a quite good effect. The fusion monsters you summon here can be pretty impactful in terms of disruptions on the opponent's turn. Like I said, this one can send the card to the graveyard. This one if you can activate other Azamina effects or Sinful Spoils, you can even destroy 2 cards. So, yeah. Performing fusions on the opponent's turn is nice, and then having a recursion effect is also solid. Here we go. Sinful Spoils Deception. You can only use the first, second, and third effect of this card's name each once per turn. Lost Contact, thank you for the 8 months. It'd be Ronin Totem, easily. You can tribute a monster from your hand or field. Add 1 Azamina card from your deck to your hand. Okay, so a once per turn searcher at the cost of a tribute, alright? If a monster is sent to your opponent's graveyard and you control an Azamina monster, you can make your opponent lose 1500 life points, and if you do, gain 1500 life points. Okay. A swing of 3000 life points total as a bonus effect. That is annoying. During the end phase, if this card is in your graveyard because it was sent there from the face-up spell and trap zone this turn, you can set it. Okay. Now we're talking. This card lets you basically summon 1 level 6 fusion for free every turn, right? This reminds me of Whitewood's cards. Because it keeps resetting, right? The fact that you send it on your first turn, right? To summon a fusion, let's say with the spell card, and then in the end phase, it comes back into your spell and trap zone so that you can send it again on your opponent's turn for like the quick play spell. I see the idea. I don't hate it, actually. All of this, unironically, all of this, except for the very first card, seems pretty cool to me. Like, solid, good cards, nothing too powerful, except for the fact that there's an Omni Negate as part of the archetype in the form of Silvera. That's what I don't like about this. Everything else is pretty cool, in my opinion. I believe there's one more, which is this one, which is Sinful Spoil Offenders. You can only use the first and second effect of this card's name each once per turn. If your opponent special summons a monster from the deck and or extra deck and you control a Diabellstar monster card, target 1 monster they control, shuffle it into the deck. During the damage step, if your Diabellstar monster battles an opponent's monster, you can banish this card from your graveyard. That opponent's monster's attack becomes halved until the end of this. This is not terrible, but it's not... I don't think this one is going to see play. Because it requires you to have Diabellstar on the board, and a lot of the times you don't want to do that, actually. I think that's one of the biggest, I want to say, fails of the Diabellstar / Sinful Spoil archetype so far, is that, like, it kind of has this theme going, like, you want to keep Diabellstar around, but then they haven't given us enough payoff to actually want to do that, right? Like, it's, they gave Diabellstar this floating effect, right? And so it portrays this idea of part of this deck's game plan is to summon a Diabellstar, keep it on the board, and then play around with that, right? You have some powerful cards that have good effects when you have Diabellstar on the board. Diabellstar has the effect to summon back from the graveyard if it gets sent there on the opponent's turn, so it's hard to get rid of, right? So and now you have this card which protects it even further, because you can like make it harder to run over it by battle and such. And then the reality is everyone summons Diabellstar and then immediately sends it for original Sinful Spoil or makes it dark with it, right? Because none of those cards that incentivize you to keep Diabellstar around are actually good enough, right? Or like rather all the other things you can do are just much better, right? Which is, I feel like that's a kind of a failed mechanic within the Diabellstar archetype. Maybe the main reason for that is original Sinful Spoils, right? Because original Sinful Spoil is obviously the best target for Diabellstar and it requires you to send a face-up card. So naturally, the most obvious play is Diabellstar set original and then send Diabellstar away and just do other stuff than Diabellstar stuff, because Snake Eye stuff is better than Diabellstar stuff. So yeah, that's kind of the direction that I would like the deck to take, is away from Snake Eye and actually play all the other Diabellstar stuff. And that's, I feel like it's a frustrating thought, because I think Diabellstar and all the cards surrounding it are actually quite cool for like a lore archetype. It's just that the Snake Eye cards specifically are too broken and not balanced at all. I feel like we'd have no issue with all of these and Diabellstar and so on and so forth if it wasn't for the Snake Eye portion, but yeah. Yeah, it is what it is. This archetype seems good, but also fun at the same time. I actually wouldn't mind if if they just like went ahead and were like, okay, now we've given you other we've given you other Sinful Spoils cards, so go play those with your Diabellstar, and we're just gonna ban original Sinful Spoils. That, because a lot of people have said when I proposed a banning of original Sinful Spoils as a way to get rid of Diabellstar as an extender for the Snake Eye deck, they were like, you can't do that because then Diabellstar basically has no purpose, right? The only real target for Diabellstar at the moment is original Sinful Spoils. So now that they've made another archetype that is centered around Sinful Spoils, and this archetype does not need original Sinful Spoils at all, right? My copium is that that means they could potentially get rid of original Sinful Spoil, and then we can still use Diabellstar in the context of this archetype where it would be completely fine. It is cope, but look, the thing is, we're all coping just in different ways, right? We all agree that Snake Eyes need to die. We all just cope in different forms on how it's gonna happen, right? Isn't that true? I feel like we can all agree on that, right? I feel like we all agree on the fact that... Why are we wombo comboing right now? Anyways, I feel like we all agree on the fact that like Snake Eyes needs to die in some way, shape, or form. Some people want Flamberge to die, some want Oak to die, some want Poplar to die, some want Original to die, dude. We don't need to argue about what exactly is gonna happen. As long as we're all in agreement that something off of this deck needs to die, I feel like we're all on the same page. We're just on like different, you know, sentences on the same page. But it's all right. This archetype's cool.